we used to do. As we used to do, to let everybody to have the access to the information and to the resources we are sharing. And the first of all, we are very grateful for the people who is going to provide us their point of view or the experience today. They are Iveta Kadrova from Break from Plastics. She's working from a very great experience she's going to share with us today in the working. And we also have our colleagues from the network, Daru from Ecoton, Aphrodite from Rocam, and Ahmed from CAPS. They are coming from Nigeria, from Indonesia, and from Cameroon. Let me say you that we are very happy and we are very proud to have in this workshop today not only an expertise as Iveta, but also our colleagues who already are, they are absolute expertise, but they are going to provide a specific point of view. Our intention is not to have a usual workshop, but we are going to try to provide a different point of view that can brings us the opportunity to build together, but also to strengthen together a workshop, a network which is working very well now. And our hope is that we'll go on working very well after the project is finished in the middle of the year in June. So let me share you the screen and begin to with the presentation. No, this is not. This is your. This is Daru's one. Sorry. Just a moment, please.
But I think it was the correct one, Eva, the one you shared.
No, this is the PDF from Daru, which the first slide is the same.
Okay.
And this one. Okay, sorry for the delay. Okay, so as I told you before, we are very happy to give you the welcome to our 21st networking workshop, advocacy workshop. And we have really a lot of things to talk about because this month has been crowded of information and good work coming from you, from the different colleagues or from the network. We also have important things to tell about the situation in the European Union, but I think we'll go fast on this part, and after we can talk in the discussion. And the main objective today is to go deep on the networking, the benefits, challenge, and to analyze our one. So I think that all of you received the agenda some days before. As you see, there are a lot of things to talk about. So in my part, at least, I'll try to go fast to provide time enough to our guests to talk about the networking. Important things to note that is that in January we have the Advocacy Workshop 20 with Elizabeth Drury. We have 13 participants, and I think it was a very good one because we learned a lot about how to prepare with our organization a good meeting with policymakers. We had a practice part in which we played different roles. And we have to say that it was very interesting to see Ram as Minister of Environment in Nepal and Darur as herself representing an NGO. So 10 points to each one because we really enjoyed and we really learned with this funny, but also with this important practice. We also had in February the webinar on global framework on chemicals, more focused in Africa, but very useful for everybody with the support of Rina, Maimuna, and Rico. We have 26 participants with was a very, very good rate of participation. And we could learn from different points of view also how to work in this global framework and how to build projects together with different points of view from South Africa and from also the EEB with Rina's support. This month also we are seeing how the training activities in Cameroon are going fast and are going well. We are here in this point in the execution of this program we developed with ROCAM and the One Health program in Cameroon. We are working in activities in rural areas. And so we developed a survey to gather information from the farmers and the local communities who are really in contact with the highly hazardous pesticides, who are really damaged by highly hazardous pesticides, they and their families. And now I have to say that we are also very happy and very proud of the work which is being developed by ROCAM communities, ROCAM members, interviewing people, farmers, families, working with highly hazardous pesticides. Some of the pictures we are receiving from Phoebe, thank you very much, Phoebe, for the great work you are doing on the field, are showing very clear the things we are denouncing at the European level, which is that, for instance, children are in danger because there is no a culture of security regarding to how to use and how to manage not only the pesticides but also the containers, the pesticides sometimes used to keep food or water or whatever, and how children can access very easily to this kind of containers, as these two pictures are showing. So I think that information coming from this survey from the field will be very helpful to provide to the not only to the European Union but also to all the people what is information about what is happening with this topic. We are also very happy to see that our colleagues in India of Abdishar are working with young people in engagement and awareness programs talking about pesticides. And so congratulations also for this work to our colleagues in India. And also we have to say thank you and congratulations to our colleagues on FAHEDEF in Cameroon, because they are talking about the campaign and they are talking about the pesticides and the work we are developing together with journalists like Amisha Mama, working in the Radio National Station in Cameroon. And this is very important to have journalists on our side and to provide information through the national radios, TVs, etc. By the way, welcome to Aisha Mama, because she has become member this week to the network, and we are very happy to have them with us. Also, we had this beautiful information from Ecoton with a TV investigation program in which they demonstrate how microplastics are present in food in Indonesia, in tofu in this case. And congrats, because this is a very great program. You have the link here. You can press the button and play the whole video shared by Daru. So congratulations, really, for this work you are doing. As you see, we are doing a lot of things together, and we are doing a lot of things, spreading the information and our concerns on plastics and on HHPs. As usual, we are sharing information with all of you, and you are sharing information with all of us. So thank you very much again for the different information you are providing and sharing in the chat of WhatsApp, for instance. And finally, in these recapitulations, we have to remind the difficult situation we are facing in the European Union, in which we have been seeing how the European Commission has withdrawn the law that aimed to reduce the use of pesticides to the half of the pesticides concretely. So we are seeing how the Green Deal is beginning to break in some parts. And also we have to see how glyphosate has a reapproval for another 10 years in the European Union, which is very concerning for us, and which means that the signals coming from the European Commission is not in the side that they are going to really deal with the chemical poisoning problem, but they are just putting away the problem in some other years. And this affects or could affect very much to our campaign objective, which is to ban the toxic exports to the South countries, to the global South countries. So after this, this fast review, and in which we can see that the work goes very well. And so again, congratulations for the work you are doing. We are going to try to talk about networking and how to do it better together. I'll try to be very fast talking about what means networking, because Iveta is going to talk about this better than me. But if you think about your organizations of each of these trees, or each plant, each animal or individual living thing, or each plant, each tree has its own function, living function, and role in an ecosystem. But when we are talking about networking, we are talking to become ourselves in an ecosystem. Each different network is a different ecosystem. Companies, private investors are making their own ecosystem. Chemical industry are building their own ecosystems. Politicians are building their own ecosystems. Families are building their own ecosystems, but we are building our own ecosystem. And we want to think about us as an ecosystem, knowing and having clear that an ecosystem moves and changes in time. It's not only the same. And one of the big power of the ecosystem by itself, it's its capacity to adapt and to be resilient to different changes, climate change, fire forest, floodings. So let's think sometimes about our network as an ecosystem. Let's see if we can see the video. I don't know if we are going to be able to hear the music.
Yeah, we cannot see it. We still see your presentation.
Okay. So let's see again. If not, we can share the video. It's a very beautiful video by WhatsApp as usual, and by email.
Sorry, I was just opening it on my.
Yes, one moment. I think that perhaps let me, if, do you hear the?
No. I think you have to stop sharing the presentation and open the video.
Yes, you have to change
Okay.
the.
Yes, I'm trying, but it's the button is stopped. I'm trying to change my.
Otherwise, I can share the video maybe.
Okay.
Let me just wait for the ad to stop.
Okay, because my button of my mouse is getting crazy. I don't know why.
Okay. Can you see it?
Yes.
And can you hear?
Great. Thank you, Noemi. Thank you very much. Oh, thank you very much for sharing the screen, Noemi. We always are talking about the ugly part, or the concerning part of pesticides and plastics, but I wanted to bring this video just to stop a little, just 1 second, to think about what we are doing, what can we do, and the difference we can make with our work. And I think that this video is very clear in very short time on what is how an ecosystem is working together, how the roots are in contact, how little microorganisms are working in a healthy soil. So this video can be very helpful for the campaign in many aspects. And for me, in this case, to introduce what is not working, or what should be not working. So besides Iveta's presentation that I am going to introduce now, our intention with this workshop was to talk about the space, the time, and the evolution, which are words very useful used in biology and ecology when talking about ecosystems, and in this case, when talking about networking. We'll have a ROCAM experience in the space, in the geographical distribution of the work they are doing in Cameroon. We have the time approach of an ecosystem or a network, in this case with Ecoton, and the work they are doing now and in the future with the seeds that they are creating and blowing to the young people. Also in other countries, as we see, you are working with young people, but in this case we have Ecoton with their example, and the evolution with the hand of Ahmed from Nigeria, how is the evolution from working with individual and common organizations to the international arenas. So this is more or less the idea we have for the workshop of today, to think about these different dimensions of networking, which goes more ahead to the daily work, to have a strategic view as a network, thinking in a network as an ecosystem. I think we are not very well in the agenda, so I'm going to provide you just some ideas about the importance of the relationship between citizens and communities and governments. This is something that we can discuss together. The benefits of networking that Iveta is going to tell us later about education, research, and practical action. This is the 3 dimensions, also very important. And the challenges, because networking sometimes is not easy, because we are different people, different organizations, different countries, different learnings. And so it's very important to do this work of respect, understanding, and communication as besides other skills and other things we have to develop, but we can see this later. So very fast, you know that our network is one of the goals of the project, to build this network and to do this joint work we are doing together. We have a very broad representation of different countries and different regions from Asia and Africa and also Europe. Our network is independent, international, intergenerational, and it is very well represented, different cultures and different countries. We have a new member. Welcome, Aisha. We are still growing. And with these pictures, I want to finish. We are developing different activities which put together the information and bring to the energy and the possibility to work together, which are the workshops like Roots, which are the webinars like Seeds that we send to the world and to the colleagues, which means sharing resources like the water or the air, and doing activities that are the flowers that are very easy to see. But to have a flower you have to need these roots, you have to need these seeds, you have to need the resources for the growth of the flower. And each of us is different, has different structures, but we have the same goals, like the goals of an ecosystem. And very fast also, it doesn't matter if you are a little NGO, it doesn't matter if you have just joined to the network. All the organisms in an ecosystem are important, and all the sizes and all the different developings are important. This is an example. Benin, our colleagues from Benin, Joseph, has an NGO which is not very big, but like a mushroom in the forest, the work he is doing with education and college bring the opportunity to have this letter written by children in Benin College, and these letters has been sent to the European Commission. So this is an example of that. It doesn't matter if you are big or not, or you are very expertise or not. The important is that you are a member of the network, because everybody is going to help everybody, doesn't matter the size. So we can talk later about the resources we can share together, but I think that now is the moment for Iveta to share her experience. Thank you very much, Iveta, and welcome to our workshop. So, Noemi, I think that perhaps you can share now the...
Thank you so much, Eva, and also
presentation.
Noemi for sharing the slides. Hi, everyone. First of all, I want to congratulate you all on what you have achieved so far in your joint campaign and what you are doing in your communities. It's very impressive. Eva has told me about it before, but now I have seen it also from the beginning of the presentation. So big congratulations from my side. My name is Iveta. I'm the movement building coordinator at Break Free from Plastic Europe. And thank you for having me here today. Next slide, please. My presentation today will have two parts. Firstly, I will present the Break Free from Plastic movement. And in the second part, I will focus on what are, in my personal experience, the cornerstones, the values, the attributes of movement building. But here I want to underline that this is my personal interpretation of the experience with movement building. It is by no means one fits all kind of scenario, as it never is actually. Next slide. Break Free from Plastic, or BFFP for short, is a global movement working together to create a future free from plastic pollution. Next, please. BFFP was created 7 years ago by 8 founding organizations that you can see on the slide here. These NGOs came together to work on plastic pollution systematically with a very much upstream focus, meaning to stop the production and proliferation of plastic. In 2016, the founding NGOs convened a group of pioneers from all around the world for a first meeting, and the movement Break Free from Plastic was created. The participant NGOs agreed on a shared vision, defined a plastics value chain approach that we will touch on later. And the movement has been growing steadily. And in the next slide, we can see where we are at today. So today, Break Free from Plastic counts around 3,000 organizations working together to create a future free from plastic pollution. What is specific about our movement is the focus on systems change, which requires addressing the problem across the value chain of plastic and focusing on prevention rather than cure. BFFP is a membership-based movement. We have 3 main types of members. Core members, who are NGOs and civil society organizations only. This is the ultimate membership with all rights and all responsibilities. Among associate members, you can also find NGOs, but in some specific cases, also zero-waste alternative small businesses. And then, of course, we have individuals who are not associated with an organization. BFFP members are located around the world in all continents except for Antarctica. On the next slide, as I mentioned, BFFP addresses plastic pollution through a systemic and intersectional lens. The movement has been successful in changing the narrative around plastic, from plastic being regarded as a marine pollution issue in the beginning, for which consumers are responsible, to proving that actually plastic is a much more complex issue. It is linked to production and consumption patterns, built on extractivism, on colonialism, and that corporations and the fossil fuel industry are largely to be held accountable for. Plastic is harmful at all stages of its life cycle. Some call it a death cycle, but yeah, from extraction of oil, gas, and coal until the disposal of a plastic product or plastic packaging. Plastic is a supply-driven issue. It fuels overconsumption patterns and a disposability-based economy. Actually, 99% of plastic is made from fossil fuels, directly connecting the plastic issue to extractivism and to the climate crisis. Petrochemical plants and plastic production and manufacturing facilities, as well as incinerators and landfills, where plastic is typically disposed of, are often located near homes of socially or economically marginalized communities and the BIPOC communities, thus perpetuating discrimination and structural racism. Then, high-income countries perpetuate neo-colonial, unethical practices by exporting their plastic and other waste to lower-income countries, typically in the global south or non-EU countries. Industries push techno-fixes such as chemical recycling, incineration, plastic to fuels technologies as the primary solutions to the plastic issue, instead of much needed reduction, prevention, and solutions stemming from citizen science, independent science, and traditional knowledge. Last but not least, I want to mention that women tend to be disproportionately affected by plastic, notably as chemicals present in plastic react differently with female bodies. So all in all, fighting against plastic proliferation and pollution means challenging the capitalist, the extractive, patriarchal, and neo-colonial practices. So this was a slide to illustrate, as you all know, how much of a complex issue plastic pollution really is. On the next slide, you can see our goal as Break Free from Plastic. I also want to add that in BFFP we collaborate regionally, cross-regionally, also nationally. We work based on shared strategy, shared vision, and we also have action plans. We also work with other movements to find connections, to support each other's goals. So just to give an example, we work with the climate movement, with unions representing workers, with women's rights movements, etc., just a few examples. On the next slide, I want to mention a few campaigns that we work on collectively. So our flagship campaign is the campaign on corporate accountability, so the brand audit that you can see in the upper left corner. Brand audit, if you don't know this initiative, this campaign, it is a participatory science initiative that involves counting and documenting the brands found on plastic waste to help identify the companies responsible for plastic pollution. Maybe some of you have already participated in brand audit with Break Free from Plastic as well. Another big priority for the movement is the work on reuse. For example, we have the We Choose Reuse initiative that is calling for a future with durable and toxic-free products and packaging, where robust systems are in place and they are the norm. Maybe I can mention, many of you probably know, there is currently ongoing the global negotiation on plastic, the Global Plastics Treaty. This is also something in which BFFP members are heavily involved in. Good examples of cross-regional work, for example, is our work on waste trade, on petrochemicals. So these are just a few examples to give you a taste, but there is much, much more going on in the movement. So in the second part, on the next slide, I would like to focus on what is the power of movement building? What are the lessons learned at working together in Break Free from Plastic? And I hope that some of these will be useful in your work, be it at occasion when you will be coordinating work with others, when you will participate at a project as project partners. But first of all, what is movement building? It is not easy to define. A loose definition would be that it is the power of the people needed to enact change, to stand up to powerful actors, to co-create and implement solutions. Notably, one of the reasons why Break Free from Plastic also was created was to create a powerful opposition to the global industry. And I think Eva also touched upon it at the beginning, that everybody, you know, is creating their own ecosystem. So what are the cornerstones of working together at Break Free from Plastic? Let's start with the first one. Building trust. There is not much we can do if we don't have trust in each other. Building trust is definitely a continuous process. For Break Free from Plastic in Europe, for instance, at the beginning, this was definitely a process because the organizations would work on the same topic, but not together, often with similar funding. So it did take time and effort to bring down what you can imagine as walls or concurrence between organizations. But now, generally, among BFFP members, we see each other as colleagues. There is an atmosphere of camaraderie, trusted relationships. That being said, my advice for those of you who are in coalitions, who will be leading coalitions, is take time to build interpersonal relationships. For me personally, movement building is all about people, individuals, and the relationships between them. If possible, meet in person, whilst I want to acknowledge that's not always feasible. Another anecdote that I can mention from the beginning of BFFP is that the first 2 years of the movement were very meetings heavy, but the fact that the people were often meeting in person reinforced the relationships and created a strong foundation. Another thing I want to say, as unimportant as it may seem, is have fun together, keep the energy going, do the important work, do the campaigns, do the strategizing, but do not forget to connect and do something else, have fun together at a group. So all in all, my advice is build relationships, meet in person if you can, get to know each other, and keep the energy going by working on important topics, but also by having fun together. Next slide is align on values and a shared vision. This is an important step in building movements, according to me. Having shared values and vision of where you want to go is the absolute basis. It's good to have a conversation right at the beginning of working together as to how you would approach conflict, for example. It is good to have clearly stated the red lines of your coalition or movement, project, anything. For example, in Break Free from Plastic, supporting waste to energy on waste burning as one of the solutions to the plastic crisis is a red line that we will never cross. Or, for instance, material substitution is also a red line. So imagine an organization wants to join the BFFP movement as a member, and their way of making change is replacing plastic with paper. That's a no-go. It's a red line we are not going to cross. So these values, these principles, the shared vision will guide your way, and it is something you can always come back to in case of doubts or in case of disagreements. Thirdly, my advice is, on the next slide, start small, but start. For any groups that are starting to work together, I would advise do something tangible together. And I think this is something that you also did as a group. I know you did some joint campaigning, you gathered signatures, you sent joint letters, you met with MEPs, you participated in public consultations. This is great, and it's the perfect way to start a collaboration, build trust, and work together. On the next slide, No one knows everything, but together we know a lot. I think it's important to create a culture in a movement or alliance, a coalition, where people feel encouraged to speak up. Often good ideas are not said out loud for many fears, and we must remember that we cannot be articulate all the time. It's important to create anti-oppressive spaces, center excluded voices, prioritize those with less opportunities, those with limitations. So allow people to come as they are. Also, there is an incredible power in diversity in a movement, including a diversity of focus and targets and the modus operandi, but also the size of the organizations, for example, or the geographies, as Eva has mentioned in her introduction. And if well coordinated, all of this can be complementary, and it can actually create the necessary leverage that you might just need to tip the scale. An important thing is respect the wisdom and the experience that each participant brings to the group, embrace different perspectives and diverse ways of being, learning, and knowing. Next slide, please. Next thing that is very important in movement building, in my opinion, is fostering a culture of mutual support, well-being, and solidarity. My advice would be, in a movement, be each other's biggest fan, support each other, in particular with the increasingly common experiences of restrictions to civil society spaces, in a recognition of the limitations of resources and support. So make sure that those who you work with do not feel alone. Next slide, please. In our experience, we have found it very important to foster decentralized leadership and ownership of coordinated work. If you work in a network, in an alliance, I encourage you to take on ownership of bits and pieces of the work. Search for leaders and co-leaders who can steer a topic or a campaign. Importantly, empower each other to take on legitimacy in the work. In BFFP, we have fantastic members. They are keen to take on leadership, on topics, on coordination. We have task forces and national alliances, which are the key member-led collaboration spaces. And they are the go-to spaces for coordinated work, for campaigning, for topical discussions, for capacity building, for joint fundraising as well. And they are also supportive of the overall joint strategy implementation. And as I am nearing the end of my presentation, on the next slide, something important would be celebration of victories. Take time to celebrate, even small steps. When something goes well, do not take it for granted. Do not take a step in the right direction as a given. So my advice is, in a movement, in a coalition, carve out time for appreciation and for celebration, and do it consistently. Next slide, please. Lastly, ensure that justice underpins everything that you do. I think it's important to know the context, the challenges, and we cannot find a solution that works perfectly for everyone. There is no magical solution, in fact. But together we can design processes with these constraints in mind. For instance, keep in mind the language barriers. Make sure to systematically center excluded voices and expertise, the impacted communities, and have constructive conflict processes. Finally, on the next slide, if you work on plastics, and I know many of you do, and if you would like to work with BFFP, please do not hesitate to reach out. And I will direct you to the regional coordinator in Break Free from Plastic. I know many of you work in Africa, Asia Pacific, some of you are in Europe as well. So if you want to know more, if you want to join Break Free from Plastic, please do not hesitate to reach out. So I hope that this gave you an overall picture of what the movement is doing. I hope that some of the lessons learned that we have extracted from our movement building can be useful in your work, in your project developments. So yeah, thank you for listening, and I hope this can be useful in one way or another. That's all for me. Thank you, Eva, for the word. I hope I didn't take too much time.
No, perfect. You are perfect in with the agenda. Thank you very much, Iveta. I think that the cornerstones you have pointed are quite important, and we can discuss later because we feel that everybody knows about what you are talking about, and it has been very enlightening and useful. Thank you very much for your presentation and your support. Okay, now we are going to give the floor to Aphrodite. Aphrodite comes from ROCAM. She's representing an alliance which has incredibly joined and assumed the points we are working in the project and in the campaign. And I have to say that ROCAM Alliance has a very important role today in Cameroon because since the beginning of the project, they have been supporting the idea that the government in Cameroon should integrate the topic of pesticides under the One Health program umbrella in line with the FAO and WHO program One Health. And this is a pretty example of how a network can move things with the government, protecting people and protecting the environment. So Aphrodite, thank you very much for coming. Thank you very much for your presentation. And I think that Noemi is going to share your presentation. Thank you so much.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, thanks very much. Good morning, everyone. Eva introduced me already. I'm Aphrodite. I'm working here in Cameroon with ROCAM. ROCAM, which is the network of CSOs that are carrying out activities under the One Health approach, or under the One Health umbrella. And so I'm the focal point for these activities with the EEB. So today I'm presenting on how we here in Cameroon are networking, because the CSOs that are members of the network are not located at the same place or are not located in the same region. In Cameroon, we have 10 regions, and then the CSOs are here and there, and then we have a mechanism of trying to remain connected one to the other, even if we are not in the same area. Next slide, please. Yeah, so this briefly how I'll present the way we are collaborating and locally and internationally here in Cameroon. So starting with the overview, next slide, please, on the ROCAM, just to briefly remind those who are just joining us. As I said at the beginning, ROCAM is the network of CSOs that are carrying out their activities under the One Health umbrella. And under the One Health umbrella, we have the human health, animal health, plant and environmental health. That's why our objective is to effectively impact change at the level of the communities on those three aspects of the One Health approach. And then our vision is to be one of the leaders in the designing, implementation, monitoring, and evaluation of policies and activities under the One Health approach in Cameroon, and especially at the level of the communities, because the CSOs here are working mainly at the level of the communities. Next slide, please. So at the national level, how do we collaborate? So the CSOs at the beginning were carrying out their activities on various aspects of the One Health approach. So some were carrying out their activities under the human health, others under the environmental health, and then others under the animal health. So a few years back, 2021, those CSOs came together then to put in place the network. And even if we are having activities that are carrying together, they still remain independent in carrying out their activity as they used to do before joining the network. So next slide, please. So under the ROCAM, we have 16 CSOs that are carrying out activities mainly on human health, 4 that are carrying out their activities mainly on animal health, and 12 that are carrying out their activities mainly under the plant and environmental health. Now, once we are together, as we are now together in the network, even if the human health can be the main interest of a CSO, when we have joint activity, okay, the CSOs are being trained to better carry out the activity, taking into consideration the One Health approach. Because we saw it with the COVID-19 that the animal health, human health, they are interdependent, and that the two of them are also related to the environmental and plant health. Next slide, please. So practically, how do we collaborate? On a yearly basis, an action plan is being put in place. That action plan is being elaborated, or activities are being proposed, because in the network we have CSOs that are leading for the environmental health, for the animal health or human health. And based on the days that we have during the year, like the One Health Day, maybe the Day of Protection of the Environment, the Day for Protection of Animals, and so on and so forth. So they propose activities that all the CSOs of the network will be able to carry wherever they are located in the country. So during the General Assembly that we have on a yearly basis, that yearly plan is being proposed. Suggestions are being made by the other CSOs, and then the final plan for the year is being adopted. So on that plan, we have activities that the CSOs, independently on their own activities that they carry on a daily basis, will be able to carry at a given point of time during the year. So that's a bit how things are being organized. Next slide, please. So as I said, this is an example of what happened if we have a year, let's say, without outbreak, without any particular issue that will require a particular activity. So during the year, the various CSOs will carry out their activities and then report to the ROCAM. And from there now we have a share of experience. How did they go about to carry out the activity? What was the difficulty? What can the other CSO learn from their own experience? And then, so on the pictures here, we have activities that are being carried out in the center region, in the far north region, in various regions in the country, just to give an idea and how at the end, once they are done with the activity, they share the information with the whole network. And then now we are producing like a magazine with all the activities for people to see what the others are doing. And as I said at the beginning, to learn from the experience of the others and see what to improve in our own way or in various ways of doing things. Next slide, please. So even if we have an action plan, during the year when there is an outbreak, for example, we had outbreak of monkeypox, for example. If there is a particular epidemic appearing in a given area in the country, okay, so an activity around that particular either epidemic or outbreak will be organized by the ROCAM for all the CSOs. So generally what happens is that with our partners, we'll try to see how to organize training sessions for the CSO to be equipped on if it's a disease, what's the disease, how is it, how people are being contaminated, where is it coming from? Is it coming from the environment? Is it coming from the contact with animals, and so on and so forth? So once the CSO are being trained, together again, they will design and produce sanitation material. And then after, the CSOs now will go back in their various localities, in their various communities now to sensitize about the particular outbreak. And then generally the method we use here is the risk communication and community engagement. That's why the community is always always involved right from the beginning first to identify what the community already knows about the outbreak or the epidemic. Then what are the wrong information they are having? How can we address those things? And then how can the sanitation material be designed for the population or the community to really understand the message that we are bringing to the community? And then at the end, the various CSOs are sharing a report on what they did as activity on the field with images, as you saw. And then we are also sharing about experience, about the practices, the good practices. And then we learn one from the other. Next slide, please. So here is an example of an outbreak, the monkeypox outbreak that appeared in Cameroon during the year 2022. So the CSOs, with the help of some partners, were trained on what is monkeypox, where does it come from, how are people getting contaminated, and then what to do to protect the community from that particular disease. And then, as I said at the beginning, after that, after the training, the CSO still together with some members of the community will see how to elaborate on the communication sanitation material, and then go back to the community now to sensitize the community about the given outbreak or the given situation. Next slide, please. So locally, our partners for now, we have the zoonosis program, we have the government through some ministry, the Ministry of Health, Ministry of Environment. We have the Centre Pasteur of Cameroon here, the GIZ, and some other partners that we are still in contact with. Next slide, please. So the One Health approach, as we said, is covering the human health, environmental health, and environmental health, showing how the three of them are interlinked. So the collaboration at the international level is also important to build a local and national communities that are strong enough, that are having to have healthy humans living in healthy environment, healthy ecosystems with healthy animals. So the collaboration at the international level is also important, as we also will gain capacity building. As I said, the ROCAM is very young, and we are still trying to learn from others, trying to learn from other partners. That's why we need to collaborate with others in a coordinated manner, communicate to really be able to bring our own contribution to that one under the umbrella of that One Health approach. So our very first partner at international level is EEB. Next slide, please. How do we come to collaborate with EEB? In fact, from the observations in our communities, how the water people are using can be or is being polluted by the chemicals our farmers use in their farms, without knowing that the way they are using their chemicals can contaminate the water they themselves will still be using in cooking food, in washing their dishes, in cleaning their houses, and so on and so forth. Observation in markets also, where we have food items that are sometimes brought to the market with some residues of chemicals still remaining on top of the fruits or of the vegetables. So some CSOs with the lead by Nani Africa came up with the idea that we could also see how to carry out some activities on sensitizing the communities on the good use or the proper use of those chemicals. And we came out with the topic for the campaign that on which we are working now: healthy water and soil free from toxic chemicals. Because the farmers in our communities generally don't know much things about the chemicals they are using. They only go to the shops and say, okay, in my farm, I'm observing this, corn are having this particular food item, or Irish potato, or my pear tree is showing this, what can I do? Then those selling the chemicals will just say, take this, mix maybe into 10-liter water and spray. nothing about how to protect themselves before using the chemicals, nothing about how to handle the empty containers after using them, nothing about the potential risk of the chemicals they are using. So that's why we are really attached to this project, because we really think they are not aware of what's happening. So the idea behind all this particular campaign is to avoid those toxic chemicals in our environment, water and soil, and then protecting our population and ecosystem and natural resources from those high hazardous substances. Next slide, please. So in our collaboration with EEB, we have gained a lot, because as I said at the beginning, the network is young. So with the online training sessions provided by the EEB, we have learned a lot on what are chemicals, and anyway, a lot of things are surrounding the chemicals. And now we are much more well equipped to go to the community to talk about this chemical issue. So we also had a survey among the CSO first to know what they know about the chemicals. And then with the EEB, we had a training session on the 4th of December, where the CSOs got more information about the necessity to carry out a campaign about those chemicals, especially in our environment, in our communities. And presently, we are carrying out a survey in the communities, as Eva said at the beginning, to assess also the level of the knowledge of our communities, of our farmers, of people in the community about the chemicals, if they even know they are toxic, if they even what they know about the chemicals that they are using on, let's say, on a regular basis in their farms, in their to protect their crops. And then from there, now we have the next step that will be, and then the next slide, please.
You are muted, Aphrodite, by some seconds.
Other were not.
Okay.
Are you getting me, please?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, thank you.
So we had that training session on December 4th with the EEB. These slides
You are muted again, Aphrodite. We lost the last sentences from your presentation. No, we are losing you. I don't know if you have problems with the net. Now.
Are you getting me now?
Yes. Yes.
Are you getting me?
Yes.
Okay, so we were at the very last, I think the one before the last, or close to the end.
Yes, do you want me to change slides?
Can you present the next slide, please?
Okay, yeah.
Okay, so this is the current survey that we are carrying out on the field now at the level of the community, to access more or less the knowledge of our farmers about the chemicals they are using, more or less on a not on a daily basis, but that they are using in their farms. And so our wish also, after this collaboration with the EEB, next slide please, is to be able to have also some other partnership with some other organizations in Africa or even worldwide. Next slide please. So we have some few challenges, capacity building and training, we still need some. and also the proper use of social media, how to develop, how to also be able to use other means to discuss our and share our experience than physical meeting, and also to also bring some other CSOs to abide to the network, to believe in the network by seeing what we are doing on a yearly basis, let's say. So briefly presented, that's what and that's how ROCAM is working on a regular basis and locally and internationally. Thanks for your kind attention.
Thank you very much. And again, after seeing your presentation, congratulations for the work, because sometimes working on the field it's not easy, but you are working with the people in the field, with the communities, which is, I think, one of the most important and difficult things we can do and we have to do. So thank you very much. And now I want to present Daru. Daru is coming from Indonesia, and she is working in Ecoton on plastics. And in this case, she's going to provide us the information and the point of view from the timing, the seeds, and the working with different generations, young people and communities. And so you have the floor, Daru. Thank you very much.
Sorry,
Okay.
I just have a PDF version, so I'm not sure how to share it. Can you share it?
Oh, can I share the screen from?
Ah, yes, perfect. If you can share it,
Okay, thank you.
Okay, great.
Okay. I'll try to share the screen. Where is the button? Couldn't find it. Okay. Yeah, coming. Can you see my screen? The
Yeah.
presentation? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So, how to make it full screen?
You can go at the bottom on the right. You see next to the Zoom. Yeah, here. Yeah, now we see it full screen. And you're muted. We cannot hear you.
Okay, thank you for inviting me to this workshop. So I was asked to share the experience, yeah, from the field. So this is the presentation I will share with you. The title is Networking Now and for the Future, Promoting Awareness and Citizen Science with Local Communities and School to Protect the Rivers from Plastic Pollution in Indonesia. So we started the plastic campaign actually since about 2009. Previously, we focused on the river pollution, industrial pollution issue, not the plastic. But when we did the river survey or river boating and monitoring, we found that plastic trash also become a dominant source of pollution. And we did campaign about the biodiversity. Fish especially, threatened to become intersex due to high concentration of endocrine disrupting chemicals from plastic trash, also from industrial pollutants like heavy metals, detergent as well, and pesticides. So this how we did the campaign to attract people or government attention on the pollution issue. We show that the fish become intersex and our men members become mermaids that intersex. So it gained a lot of attention, and government also get the message, yeah, that our rivers is polluted by the pollutants that can change the sex of the fish that used to be should be a male fish. Now the fish have two gonads, so it become sterile and they cannot reproduce or become infertile. And this is just a little text about the problem in our river. And the river still become very polluted from industry and also plastic trash and domestic wastewater. On the top picture, you can see the industrial pollutants discharge untreated wastewater, while the river also source of drinking water. And the plastic trash become a problem, especially from the diapers. We calculate about 2.9 million pieces of disposable diaper waste produced every day. And we predict about maybe 40%, yeah, is dumped into the river because a lack of service from the government. And we also share the findings to the journalists, to the press. We see that journalists is very strategic partner and very important to raise the issue. So we always make a press release, yeah, when we do our activity. So these are some networks that Ecotones become part of it. Alliance for Zero Waste Indonesia, and also break free from plastic. Yeah, that's why you can see in some of my slides were very linked with what Yvette already present. We also member global Gaia. Yeah, so number 1, 2, 3, 4 is sometimes overlap. So as we member, also member of BFFP, Gaia, and IPEN, and all of us have a similarity when we're dealing with plastic pollution. We target the upstream of the problem, not to see the plastic. We don't want to see the plastic waste as the waste management problem, but we see it as the overproduction from the oil and petrochemical company that keep want to suck more oil to produce plastic. And we also member of Asoka Foundation, Goldman Prize awardee network. And locally, we have an Alliance for River Community in Indonesia and in Berantas River. We also have alliance with environmental journalists, and we collaborate with government agency and academia. Gosh. Yeah, we have been working in the river since Ecoton established in year 2000, and our program usually to educate the youth to do the research as easy and accessible activities. So we innovate the tool. Biotilic, for example, is how we assess water quality with biomonitoring, and Mystic Scan. We invented to collect the microplastic samples by sieving the water, river water, wastewater, or groundwater with aluminum can and attached with a sieve, plankton sieve. So this is the citizen science guide that we use, and you can download it from the WhatsApp group I already shared with you. And for the citizen science activity, we bring the students, the community, the youth to get close to the river so they will know the problem, because some of the people now, they don't have interaction with the river. So we want the people to see the river has a lot of potential, but it has been threatened by many activities. So we want the children to participate, because we believe that children can make the difference, and we have to give them access to participate in this movement. And the biotic biomonitoring, we also work with the school students and community. These are some animals that become an indicator for our river quality level. And for the mystic scan, microplastic scanning can, it's very simple tool we invented like this, and we distribute it to the community so they can do their own sampling and send the samples for us to analysis under the microscope. And we found that the microplastic is everywhere, yeah, especially coming from the plastic recycling that run by the small scale industry. They don't have any environmental protection measure, so they discharge untreated wastewater directly into the waterways and release millions particles of microplastic like this, and it accumulated on the land and also come into the river and ingested by the fish and other animals or our food source, yeah, and drinking water source. And the network is really help us a lot to do the advocacy. For example, this one with IPEN and also supported with BFFP. We gain a lot of access for information and also funding, so we can do investigation and release a report, invite or connect with the international journalists. And now the plastic waste import to Indonesia has been decreased. So government Indonesia finally strengthened the control at the border. Now we have the importer have to fulfill or to meet the limit 2% contamination. It's a big improvement. While previously we can find like 40% contamination coming. Yeah. And we found soiled diapers, unrecyclable plastic coming from the containers, yeah, that imported by plastic, no, paper mill company. And working with journalists is very important support to our advocacy and campaign. So this is the data from 2001. We gain a lot of media report, and microplastic become the #1 top issue in the news articles under Ecoton activity. And we also collaborate with the movie maker, professional movie maker. We create the Plastic Island. You can find it on Netflix. And we produce series of documentary for river plastic pollution and river pollution in Indonesia, and we gain millions of view because the documentation is made by the professional filmmaker, yeah. And for the awareness campaign, we create interested installation, yeah, to describe how many plastic bottle that produced by one young person in Surabaya city for 2 years. So this tunnel is describing total number of plastic bottle produced by only one youth university student in Surabaya. So people get the idea. And the solution we want to push is targeting the upstream, yeah, the plastic production. We want to join the advocacy to phase out the chemicals of concern and close the plastic tap, sustainable design, etc. And the networking is still going on with the river community. We did some cleanup activity, but it's for the brand audit purpose, yeah, not to clean all the plastic that produced by the company. And this is the network for the rivers. We develop many communities so they can join the monitoring activity. And we upload the data in the website Berantasai. they can upload any incidents of pollution or solution or dump sites. So for example, these are the data from the community where they upload timbulan sampah is the dump site. And we a lot of demonstration or campaign with the youth, and sometimes we did a litigation with this community network to file lawsuit against the plastic polluters. Last year we sued 3 producer, Wings, Indofood, and Unilever in Indonesia, but we lost the case, and we are planning to do more as alliance, maybe with Alliance Zero with Indonesia. And this is the brand audit activity. With the solution with the network, we now developing a green business by or organizing or launching a refill store in many village and remote area where there is no waste management service. And this review story, we promoting less plastic consumption, and people can shift to refillable or reusable product instead of sachet that also become a big problem. So in this network, through refill store since September, yeah, we able to reduce about 500 pieces, yeah, of single-use sachet. We produce 200 cloth diaper that produced by the Green Women and generate income more than 20 million. We also have program with the school to set up a plastic-free canteen and to introduce the children with the healthy food. And the result, now we have 15 community, student, women group involved in this movement, and they implement monitoring regularly every 2 weeks and update the result in the website Berantasai. And we also do joint advocacy to the government agencies, joint field activities, and also collaborative campaign or investigation report with journalists. So these are some experience from the field, yeah, from Ekoton. We are very local in Indonesia and only 15 full staff, so it's a very small organization, and we not really have experience in the global movement. So this EEB capacity building really improve, yeah, or help us to widening our network, and it's very important to work together globally, regionally, and nationally. Thank you for listening, and back to Eva. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's impressive the work you are doing. It's impressive the BOT leak, the work with journalists and all the monitoring of the river's quality and health you are doing. So congratulations for this work, and thank you for sharing your experience. And now I want to give the floor to Ahmed, who is going to talk to us about the experience in networking they are developing in Nigeria, also working very, very, very strong with plastics topics. Thank you very much, Ahmed.
Yeah, thank you very much, Eva, and everyone. Thank you very much for the opportunity to share our work and, of course, the experience from Nigeria with everyone. Good morning once again. So my name is Ahmed from Community Action Against Plastic Waste. We work primarily in Nigeria and in few other countries in Asia Pacific and Latin America and across Africa as well. I'm just going to go straight to the topic, which basically wanted to share our experience working locally with local community, particularly in Nigeria, and how we bring these important issues to international forums and conventions, particularly the Global Plastic Treaty, the BRS Convention, Minamata, and a few other international conventions that we worked on. Please, next slide. Yeah, so the objective, basically, what we do and which communities that we work with, basically is to promote public educations around harmful effects of plastics and pesticides, particularly for people to understand the impact they have on their health and the environment. This is majorly to push for policy change with the government, because we understand the fact that if there is no scale changes, particularly in policy that address this issue in many countries, it will be difficult to get the kind of impact or change that we're hoping to get. And of course, secondly, is to provide alternative solutions. Like the previous speakers had mentioned, most importantly, prevention of plastic, the issues that, solutions that promote preventions, particularly in reducing plastic productions globally. One of the agenda which is being discussed within the Global Plastic Treaty, which is of course very important, is to ensure that countries actually have a target of plastic to amount of plastic for them to produce. This is really key, and of course to promote transparency in chemicals that are used in plastic, and of course to prioritize solutions that zero waste, that drive zero waste innovations. These are key issues that we promote in local communities, so that governments don't see this issue as being waste management, which is on an ending cycle if they continue to focus on this. Next slide, please. So basically, our network, and this is basically just looking at networking from academic point of view, and this is what basically we interpret locally as well by working with many grassroots organizations who are also public interest. These are key, just like Investor had mentioned. It helps us to basically understand, and of course also have identify the kind of organization who also has the kind of goal that we also have, like it make it easier for us to be able to build trust when, for instance, there are public interest organizations and there are grassroots who are working directly with frontline communities, so they understand their pains and the impact of pesticide and plastic in these communities, and of course how they could also help them to alleviate this problem. So basically, this is how we work with local communities and grassroots organizations to work together and to bring the voice of voiceless people within all of these communities to many of the international engagements that we participate in. Next slide, please. Yes, so as I'd mentioned before, we're basically looking at protecting from plastic and pesticide, which are the major policy issues that we focus on. But this cuts across the whole of chemicals and waste issues, name them, how all of them are interwoven, but majorly how chemicals and waste policies are better, improve, especially in countries in global south, where most countries have weak chemical laws. So how do we, improve on this to ensure that they understand? Let me give you a very good instance, is the example of in Nigeria, until about 3 years ago, all of the governments, including the federal government, never talked about plastic from the point of life cycle approach. They never understand this issue as being such. They only focus on waste management, so much that the current Nigerian national policy on plastic, which was finalized in 2021, was labeled as Nigeria Plastic Waste Policy. So waste was also even mentioned in this policy. So these are the narratives we're working with the government to change. And we'll make so much progress in this regard that when the policies is due to be reviewed, which is also to be reviewed every 5 years, the next one will be next year in 2025. We hope that a lot of upstream measures will also be incorporated into the updated, improved or reviewed policy by next year. But because now the ministry and many government agencies have understand the fact that it is important to talk about upstream measures, and of course how this is basically not benefiting us as a country, even though Nigeria is an oil producing country, but because we export crude oil to different parts of the world and then refine them elsewhere to bring back to Nigeria. So it's basically not benefiting our economy, but our people bear the brunt of the pollutions with the overproduction of plastic in local communities across our country. So basically, we're making them to understand how it is critical to protect ordinary Nigerians and Nigeria as a country from the issues of health, human rights, and the environmental pollutions that pesticide and plastic, that they are threatening, our people, the ordinary people every day by the exposure they get to some of these things that are not produced in our country. But people are bearing the brunt. It is same, including the same with pesticide. Many pesticides are banned in Europe, for instance, which this campaign is focusing on. We don't produce them in Nigeria. And even in places where they are produced, they are already banned, but our people bear the brunt because of the weak chemical laws. So this is why we're working with the government, relevant government agencies to continue to making this law stronger to ensure that these substances that are strengthening the health and the rights of our people are stopped. Next slide, please. Thank you very much. So basically, we work with local communities, including local governments, because these are where the people bear the brunt of this, most of these issues. So we work with local groups, local governments, sub-national governments, to ensure that they understand these issues as a human rights issues, as a health and environmental degradation issue, so that they are able to also provide local solutions, indigenous knowledge that probably have been with us for many years, but because of globalization and expansion of big oil companies in many parts of the world by dominating local economy, to let them understand also the neocolonialism issues around this, like the waste colonialisms, and of course the suffering of and the killing of local businesses by continuing promoting some of these issues. So we're collaborating with local communities and local government to continue to empower people, and of course to continue to promote local indigenous knowledge to also tackle this problem. Next slide, please. So yeah, we'll continue to establish partnership. This is how we build network by supporting local reuse businesses to continue to get more patronage and get visibility, so that they become more profitable, and other businesses can also take a clue and also expand from there. We also work with local schools by establishing clubs that educate young people on these issues, and of course to let them understand that they are not helpless, and of course some of the solutions and actions that they can also promote. And the same we do with local organizations, including NGOs, waste management organization, to also empower them, to let them understand that it is not sometimes their fault, even though this is what industry promotes, that it is a responsibility of individuals to deal with this problem, but to let them understand that it's not their fault. It is the fault of those who continue to overproduce and take no responsibility, even though they are the one that make all of the profits. then without contributing anything back to those solutions. Then how they can also, bring their voice to support issues like this and tell to their face why they need to change this narrative, and of course advancing solutions that are not forced solutions, like burning this waste, or maybe bringing incinerations, or firing cement clean with plastic, and some of these solutions that are found mostly within most fence line communities that are burdened with this problem every day. Next slide, please. So that continue with what we do, hosting community events. We continue to host community events and workshop by working with local communities to help them understand this issue. Well, some of the major ones is WABA, waste assessment and brand audits, which we host locally by hosting cleanup, and at the end of the day, with community counting branding that brand and sharing information about brands that are responsible for most of these pollutions, and why, of course, they should be held accountable. And of course, continue workshop, especially with the government, to build their capacities on these issues, which is to change, let them understand the narrative. But even the government are not responsible for using, for instance, in Nigeria, very scarce resources, taxpayers, money to manage waste. Why the companies who are polluting these are making a lot of money, and whereas they don't take any responsibilities for some of this. So basically, these are some of the knowledge sharing and workshop and events, citizen focused events and community-based events that we host to also promote some of this knowledge and build a network locally. Next slide, please. Yeah, collaborating with local agencies to promote issues around extended producer responsibility, polluter pay principles, waste assessment and brand audits, and all of these. And of course, even to highlight issues around recycling facility, why individuals who work within this also need to be protected, and why even governments need to, and local government agencies need to understand that when they talk to them about bringing some of this industry to their community, they need to also ask critical questions. One of them we did last year was in Obajana in Kogi State in Nigeria, where the Dangote cement kiln is located. These communities, we did a basic testing with people who live around this facility, how they have, are exposed to a lot of microplastic pollutions, whereas the concentration of these is less in communities that are farther. So these are some of the eye opener for communities, leaders and chiefs to come to we let them understand, to also look at when they tell them about bringing industries like this, because they only tell them about the economic benefits, but nobody tells them about the scales of pollutions and the health impact that is going to have about the people. So we work on some of these issues to also promote transparency and integrity of the communities in terms of the pollutions, and that how it impacts them by promoting some of this, by bringing some of these forced solutions to them. Next slide, please. Yeah, so we also, this is to basically just highlight some of the events that we do: clean up, educational workshop, advocacies, and community engagement, which many of them have already mentioned already. Next slide, please. So see, there are some of the work, like in Kano State, we have worked with over 5,000 young people in primary schools and basic school, the lower secondary schools. We have our volunteers who work with many young people within these schools to also educate them about these issues and, of course, some of the solutions they can take. And we had the National Ocean Drive. This project was hosted between 2021 at the end of 2021 and 2022, which also basically bringing attention to the pollutions in our oceans, mostly around the Niger Delta through Lagos and how plastic are heavily polluting all of these communities. We hosted, of course, community capacity building on global plastic treaty with most of our community members around Africa, in Kenya, and of course cleanup in Abuja, in Tanzania, in different African countries, and we also did collaboration in Rwanda. Many of these I had mentioned anyway, and in these we had collected over 80,000 pieces of plastic, and within different 57 type of them. Next slide, please. So these are some of the picture. You can just run through these slides. It basically just shows pictures of some of the work. This is in Kano. This is some of the cleanups that we had in the oceans in Lagos. These are some of the pictures of volunteers, in Cote d'Ivoire. Next one. Yeah, this is, of course, our engagement in plastic treaty. This was at the INC2. Of course, how we're bringing some of these issues and voices of voiceless people within the community that we work with to some of these important forum. Then next slide. Yes, this is also schools and of course how we bring some of this education with them. Thank you very much for listening. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ahmed, and thank you for this impressive report about the work you are developing and how do you do this networking in different levels, which is a great experience, I think, to share with all the colleagues of the network. We are not in time. We have a lot of things to do still. We have the discussion and the conclusions and also next steps. So if you agree, I'd like to open the floor to any of the questions that you can have to our colleagues, to the speakers that made the presentations today, or just if you want to appoint something related to networking. And after this, I have some ideas, some keywords I have been catching from the different presentations that I want to share at the end of in the conclusions. So if you want, we can share the floor and we can open the floor for any question that you could have. Yes, it's impressive, all the information we have. Already we are processing. I suppose we are processing the information. And I think that for sure in the face-to-face meeting, we'll have the opportunity to talk and to think very deep about how better do our work in networking. But anyway, if you have any question or any comment, it's welcome now.
Hello, thank you. Thank you, Eva.
Thank you, Leslie.
Thank you so much for putting this together. This has been so interesting, especially getting a lot of experiences, spanning from networking to collaborative kind of relationship and for different thematic area. And these informations are very useful for, the entire value chain, depending on which sector of this kind of, NGOs or civil society you belong. But one particular, very informative, like you mentioned, quite a lot of information now to process. But one key thing that I think I would like to just flag, which is a very good one for me in all these presentations, is the experience that was shared by, sorry if I can recall very well, the lady that presented, I think from not Cameroon now, that presented
Daru from Indonesia.
Yes, that a kind of network, how to different groups of NGO can collaborate, because that is one area that is quite lacking. We have all been working from our own different groups, different NGO, but I think that particular experience is also key in that it has opportunity of bringing much more results, especially when you form alliance to interrogate policy processes and action on ground. You get much more visibility. People tend to listen to you more because you are dealing with a diversity of groups of NGOs coming together under one umbrella. And I think that we should begin to explore that frontier. That is going to be useful. Of course, the question would be, how do you fund that kind of, how do you manage, which has always been a challenge, from management to funding that. But the example she presented, the way they were organized and the kind of result-oriented outcomes that she presented would be worthy, I mean, something for us to look at, emulate, especially in other African countries, looking at issues of chemicals and waste cluster, because that is an area that quite a lot of policymakers, it's not a revenue generating area, it's an underserved area in policy making. When you bring the issues of chemicals and waste together, especially plastics, it's looked at as a non-revenue generating area. So policymakers, apart from the attention that the multilateral environmental agreements are bringing into the issues, some of those areas don't easily pass. So I just wanted to, so that I don't take too much time, that I find that as very valuable. If the EEB network can encourage this kind of, collaboration efforts, government in some countries, I know like countries like Nigeria, will listen to a group of NGOs work or advocacy much more than just when one group of NGO or one NGO is advocating on a very strong chemical and waste issue like we're talking about. So thanks so much for this forum, and it's been enlightening to listen to this presentation. Yeah, I think that's probably the lady I was talking about. Yeah.
Thank you, Leslie. I don't know if you finally, if you want to make this direct question to Daru, how do you manage?
Yes.
So this is the direct question to Daru, and after this we have
Aphrodite. Yeah. If you have time, how do you manage the intricacies, this managed structure that the network had or the association had, and in terms of funding? I mean, where each NGO bringing their own funding, or you usually write one proposal that enable you to achieve, because also the management of all that has a lot of challenge in some areas.
Okay, Daru, I don't know if you can provide us an answer to this big question. How do you manage? How do you fund the activity you are developing in Ecoton? Or perhaps we lost Daru.
Can I say something while waiting for her, please?
Okay, yes, please, Aphrodite, you have the floor.
Yeah, effectively, as sorry, I didn't remember his name. The one that was talking right before me was saying, to act as a network, you have it's much more significant. When even you are talking to the government, to the ministry, or when even you are going to some organization for fundings, you have much more chances to be understood, to be received, than when you are coming as an individual NGO. And that's what we are experiencing. And as far as the management of funding is concerned, as I told you, individual CSOs still continue to carry out their own activities. But for the activities that the ROCAM is the one looking for funding, we fund activities that are going to be carried out by CSO. Anyway, the activities that are being retained by the whole network. For example, training sessions, even sanitation campaign. So when we go to funders, we decide, for example, to sanitize for a day, and then we provide funding for that day for the CSOs, wherever they are, to go to the community. And now the training sessions are more or less the same. So the network does not enter into personal matters of the CSOs, no. But when we look for funding for activities, it's to fund activities that are for all the CSOs. Yes, and not all the activities of the CSOs within the year, no. Some particular activities that we retain for the year, we look for funding for those activities, and then when we have the fundings, they can be carried out. Thank you. But
Thank you,
for me, as you
Aphrodite.
said, yeah.
Thank you, Aphrodite. I think that Daru is not here. Daru, if you are here, you can please take the floor to answer Leslie. But Aphrodite has pointed a very important thing also, which is funding, not only one CSO, but a network. I don't know if, Iveta, do you have any information about possible fundings or lines of fundings related to plastic campaigns? But anyway, we'd like to say you that we are thinking at the EB, thinking in include funding as one of the topics to be to work on in the face-to-face meeting, in the hybrid face-to-face meeting, because we know it's a very important thing. So Iveta, please.
Thank you, Eva, and thank you, Aphrodite, for underlining that important element of funding and sustaining yourself as an NGO or as a group of NGO. That's definitely very important for the work that you do. So Break Free from Plastic is not a funder, but what we can offer to our members and to organizations that we work with is mini grants for specific activities and projects. For example, those NGOs that work on the brand audits typically do receive a small funding for that particular activity. The youth campaigners also receive a small funding. So that's one option. Second option, and that's something that we see more and more in Break Free from Plastic movement, is that our members come together, create projects and apply for funding jointly. And we recently had a massive success in Break Free from Plastic Europe. We have our menstrual task force. So that's a group of members that works on menstrual items only. And they applied for funding. 8 countries out of their own initiative came together and they did get it. And it's going to sustain the work of these 8 NGOs for the next 2 to 3 years. And we, as a coordination team, definitely do support this initiative. We bring support to that. We also have capacity building activities when it comes to how to fundraise, how to approach a funder, how to draft a good concept note, how to catch the interest of a funder. So how really to put forward the important work that the members do. So I would say there are bits and pieces. So the mini grants, the training opportunities, but also the potential joint fundraising that members do. So I think that this all can definitely help. There are definitely funders who do support the work on plastic pollution. And this is definitely an information that that you can get in the network as well. We do not currently have a database, but it's definitely something that we can connect you to. I hope it replied to your question fully. If it didn't, please let me know. I will try to say more.
Thank you very much, Iveta. I think we had another question, and I think that it should be the last one because we are not in time now. Puong Hai, I don't know if you want to ask something from Vietnam, or I saw your hand.
Yeah,
Hi.
thank you, Eva. And yeah, can you hear me? Thank you, Eva, and thank you, Daru, Iveta, and the other presenters who have made a very interesting and inspired presentations and sharing about the networking. And as for me, I think that because in some of the network you mentioned, for CCFED, we're also a network member there. And I see that, like Iveta said, that apart from the capacity building and sharing what we are doing with the network member, fundraising is a very important factor to develop and maintain the network, as well as a joint activity for the network member to participate and to create a joint effort of the network towards what we want to advocate for in the working areas we are follow. And because we do not have much of time, so I just want to have something to add to this workshop, and hopefully in the future, this network of capacity building for the NGO, we can think of widen the activity apart from the capacity building and learning from each other. We should think of have a joint activity to show the effort apart from the utilize of the current resource and capacity from the network members. Yeah, thank you for having me here.
Thank you very much for your words. This is our aim also to think about how to go ahead after the capacity building project, if it's possible or not. And of course, funding are quite important. The food is important for an ecosystem. If there is no food and there is no water, there is no soul, there is no ecosystem. So it's quite important. Thank you very much. I think that we are going to go ahead in the agenda, and now we should move to the next steps. I promise you to send some ideas and key words and the key points from the workshop, which I think has been very good, very important. Thank you again to all of you who has been preparing the presentations. And now I wanted to give the floor to Rina to talk about the next steps we have in our calendar in the project, which are these ones, and moreover the most important and perhaps key thing is also the face-to-face meeting. So thank you very much, Rina. Oops.
Thank you, Eva. Thank you to everybody, to the speakers for this really interesting presentations, really inspiring. So the next steps are, well, the next one is the next workshop, which will be in 1 month. So in March, we will have another one in April. In April, we are organizing a webinar, which is still not clear because we try to do an initiative with other EU organizations. So we will let you know as soon as possible, but it is about the EU bank export. So we will keep you updated. And as Eva mentioned, the most important thing is probably the face-to-face meeting. So at the beginning, we wanted to do it in Africa, in Nairobi, and we started a collaboration with Sejad Griffiths and his organization. And after a lot of discussion and a lot of thinking, we thought that it could be more impactful if we keep it in Brussels, because there will be the elections for the European Parliament. So we could try to put a seed in the earth and see if it grows, and contact people and try to engage them and meet other organizations that are working in network with us, with our network, which we are part right now. So in the end, we reshaped it and we are organizing it in Brussels. It will be the 28th, 29th, and 30th of May. So basically, we are already late. So my invite to you is please answer to the email. I sent an email to the network specifying the criteria for participation. Unfortunately, we do not have that much funding. We would like to have all the network together in one place and really work together. Unfortunately, this is not possible. So we will be able to fund 12 to 14 people. So please answer the email, because the problem is the visa. I mean, the Belgian government is, it can be slow to give an appointment in the embassies in the country where you are. And then they take some time to process the visa. So please answer by next week, adding a quote for your flight so we can see, according to our budget, how many people we can fund, which is really sad, I repeat, because we would like to see you all in Brussels. But please do this as soon as possible so we can go ahead and be sure that you can come to us. I just want to specify one thing. The EEB procedure is that we can't anticipate money for the flights, and also the financial policy in EEB has changed, so we can't fund you before, so we can't buy the tickets for you, but we can reimburse you before the meeting, not after the meeting as we used to do. So you will receive instruction about it. The most important thing is that you get a quote, you send to us, and we try to ship it as soon as possible. So quick, because we want to have you in Brussels. We want to work and push for this export ban, which is fundamental. We have been working about it for 2.5 years now, even a bit more. So let's do it, and I'm waiting for your emails and organizing everything to go ahead. Thank you so much. That's all for me. So we are 2 minutes late. Sorry for taking the time.
Thank you.
Thanks to everybody.
Thank you very much, Rina. Please don't forget that the face-to-face meeting is an hybrid activity, so you can join if not possible to travel. We are going to be working together as we did last year. We are building now the tentative agenda, and we will send you in the next few days with the activities that we think that could be very useful for you and could be useful for the network and also for the joint campaign in our campaign together to ban toxic exports once we are going to meet in Brussels. But anyway, we are open if you think that there is some point very important to go deeper. We are open, of course, to include in the agenda some topic that can be important for many of you. As I told you before, one of the important things are fundings, and we are thinking about celebrate an activity to help you and your CSOs or networks to think about funding, which are the best way to find sources, colleagues, etc. Thank you, Iveta, also because you have mentioned that you can think about these microcredits and different lines in help the CSOs that are interested in work on plastics, for instance. And I think that together we can have important information about this topic, among others. So by now, this is the things I think I have to say. It's a pity that we didn't have time enough for the discussion. I think that we got very important information and feedback from the different presentations, and we are really grateful for the work you've done. And let me say you that when we are talking about networking and our network, I'll never forget the day that we went last year to the European Parliament and met with Maria Arena and other parliamentarians. And when we from the EEB team saw your presentations, your statements in the heart of Europe about the topic, we were very proud, and we really feel the love we feel for everybody who is in this network working so hard and so well. So thank you very much for everybody. Thank you, Iveta, for joining us today, and for the rest of the speakers, and we hope to see you in the next activity. Don't forget that we are going to share the recording and the presentations to help you in your working day. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And thank you, Eva, for reminding that it will be a hybrid event, so everybody can take part. Thank you.
Bye. Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.